Ons het nou vroeër gesels oor eiendomsontwikkeling in Suid-Afrika en verwys na die rol van ekologie. Ons fokus egter nou op verstedeliking in Suid-Afrika, as ook die ekologiese impak en die gevaar wat dit vir inwoners kan inhou. En by ons in die ateljee is Emily Tailor van Endangered Wildlife Trust. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, previously natural environments are being snapped up for new developments. This is good for economic growth. But where do all the animals go, and how does this impact on the ecology?
Right. Well, I mean, development is a must for the growth and sustainability of our country, but indiscriminate development is not. So there is a way to have both, and there is a direct effect on ecology in urban areas, such as fragmentation of habitats, and that reduces the amount of genetic diversity in populations of animals. And of course, a lot of animals are unfortunately killed trying to get away from developments. But there are ways to do both. So there's a general Gauteng spatial development framework that outlines which areas are not appropriate for development, things like that. But unfortunately, they're not always adhered to.
Emily, would you be so kind to explain the concept ecology in layman's terms?
Sure. So it's environmental systems. So it's basically species interactions, animals interactions, and how they affect each other, and also how they affect their environment and are affected by the environment.
Very interesting.
I've got a friend, and he's got a piece of land, a fantastic piece of land. And then with the studies, there was a golden mole.
Yes.
On that, and he can build now one house or two, structures on this property. Can you determine that before? And are you the people that says, listen, this is a no-go?
Not us per se, but we do have specialists who are able to assist. Generally, what's preferable is to do an environmental feasibility study before you start doing the impact assessments to see if those areas are even worth exploring. But yes, the golden moles are a bit of a problem at the moment, particularly in this area. There are quite a few developments going up in mining applications. And
should you find yourself in a case like this where you've already purchased the place,
no.
What do you do then? Is there anything you can do?
Because this golden mole can really cost you a couple of million.
Yeah, it can, I guess. There's really no easy answer to that, I'm afraid. But maybe just, consult people on where to put certain things of your development, just to ensure that there are certain areas that you maintain as natural or wetlands particularly, things like that. You've just got to be careful around how you build things around them.
Urbanization is a catch-22 in that it indicates economic growth. Please explain a little about the effect of urbanization on ecology.
Well, as I said earlier, it has quite an effect on fragmentation of habitats, things like that. But the other problem is that it affects humans as well. Green spaces and biodiversity in our cities is so important to us. Just general things like the way it provides us with clean water, food, and it also gives you a sense of well-being if you're surrounded by green space. Ecosystem services is something that we talk about a lot, which is the services that biodiversity provides to humans. And there was a study released in 2013 that ecosystem services provided by green spaces in Johannesburg alone provide they're worth the value of about between 30 and 70 million rand per year. So actually you can't have real economic growth without taking the natural environment into consideration.
Emily, let's take a practical example into consideration. The Mall of Africa in Johannesburg.
Yes.
Which types of animals and plants would naturally have occurred in that area prior to the development?
Well, I mean, I can't speak to any specific development or area, but in Johannesburg, Gauteng in general, species that are threatened are the species such as the African grass owl, the golden moles, African bullfrog, and something like a South African hedgehog is quite affected in urban areas.
And do ecologists and property developers work together to ensure the relocation of these plants and animals?
Some do, but the problem is that relocating animals is actually quite a complicated process. It's not just sort of moving them from one area to another. There are all sorts of factors to consider. Some animals are territorial, so if you move them into another area, there will already be a resident animal, and that'll cause problems. And then also diseases are spread and all of that stuff. So it's quite complicated, and unfortunately we don't have enough capacity at the moment for that to happen in every instance.
How can the collaboration improve?
I think, real collaboration just begins with meaningful communication between environmentalists and developers and governments and the public in general. The EWT, Endangered Wildlife Trust, launched a project in 2013 called the National Business and Biodiversity Network. And this is about getting businesses to mainstream biodiversity into their strategies and their policies. And there's some really big corporates on board, like just De Beers and Pam Golding, that are starting to do this, which is great.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you face?
With developments? I think getting there in time, a lot of the time. Just before you get, by the time you get there, it's almost too late sometimes to save things. And there is quite a lot of corruption and lack of capacity.
A quick, just a yes or no. You think we're losing the battle against developments in terms of wildlife or not?
Yes or no?
Yes. Let's say out of 10, losing or winning.
We're closer to losing, but we'll get there.
And then
hopefully programs like this helps.
Exactly, yeah.
Just one solution to protecting South Africa, perhaps.
Oh my goodness, communication.